the United Kingdom in 1990, where he served as a psychiatrist with prisoners and in inner-city Birmingham. He is the author of numerous books, including Zanzibar to Timbuktu and Life at the Bottom.
Malabo is the capital of Equatorial Guinea, where the first democratically elected president killed or drove into exile approximately a third of the population, and he used to keep the national treasury under his bed. When the president left the capital, they turned the electricity off as being no longer required. So I counted the number of aid agencies, and I think I counted in about 3 hours, I counted 27 in sort of large white Toyotas, air-conditioned, of course. And really, the devastation of Equatorial Guinea was very good business for them. The salary is very good. It tends to be tax-free. Unlike your life at home, you will have servants. And I think it was Schumpeter who said that one servant is worth a household full of appliances.
A lot of the donor agencies, when I see the country heads driving around in the posh cars and living in the big houses, I see multiple colonial governors. This is the new face of the colonial governor.
Ghanaian software entrepreneur Herman Chinere Hesse is the founder of SoftTribe and BSL. He began in 1991 working out of his parents' home to develop a line of software especially suited for the developing world, and then began selling door-to-door. A leading technology pioneer, he has been called the Bill Gates of Africa and has been featured on BBC and in newspapers around the globe. He is now working to connect rural entrepreneurs to wider markets through innovative smartphone applications.
I think that the World Bank and a lot of such donor organizations have an agenda outside the development of our countries. To a large extent, our governments have been held captive by the donor agencies, the international donor community, who are not, in my view, particularly interested in seeing the growth of local business, because then the tax base will represent a revenue source for the government and therefore put the international donor agencies out of business.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
We are no longer getting excited by aid from IMF, from the World Bank. They perpetuate your misery by giving you a loan, make you a slave, economic slave, because you are chained by the loan. So it becomes a way of colonizing the economies of the poor countries.
Now, there are a lot of Africans who are very angry at the condition of Africa. The cheetah generation is the new breed of Africans. They're not going to wait for government to do things for them. That's the cheetah generation. And Africa's salvation rests on the backs of these cheetahs. In contrast, of course, we have the hippo generation.
The hippo generation are the ruling elites. They are those who have monopolized political power. And they are those who are stuck in their muddy pedagogical patch. And they believe that the only way you can solve the problems in Africa is by giving the state more power and more foreign aid. And it is on the back of this hippo generation which the United Nations, the World Bank, and the IMF have been trying to hitch a ride with this same old aid-driven boondoggle. And that's why we're not getting anywhere in Africa. Out of the 54 African countries, only 16 of them are democratic. Now, these leaders stay in office 10, 20, 30, and even 40 years in office. And they don't even step down. They groom their sons to take over. Africans are fed up with this kind of leadership.
When people support more foreign aid for Africa, the more they're condemning us in Africa to live under dictators who will not respect our rights to access to rule of law.
No doubt originally the idea was compassionate. You saw people suffering from poverty, and therefore your immediate response is to give. But unfortunately, giving on a large scale distorts. Take a country like Tanzania, where I actually worked. Its greatest receipts in foreign currency were from aid. And the whole of the political process actually was who got their hands on the aid.
Make no mistake, I am not against humanitarian aid. Of course, if a disaster happens, we better rally and help each other. But when humanitarian aid becomes a way of life, then we all have a big problem. Emergency disaster relief has become the permanent model, and that model is what I call the current aid industry.
I have never heard of a country that developed on aid. If you know of one, just let me know. I know about countries that developed on trade and innovation and business. I don't know of any country that got so much aid and they suddenly became a first world country. I've never heard of such a country. So the track is wrong. That track ends to nowhere.
There is the school